What if I told you a single aircraft could patrol vast oceans, rescue stranded sailors, and even fight wildfires all in one mission? Meet the Catalina, a flying boat that defied expectations. From evading enemy fire to saving lives in the dead of night, its legacy is one of resilience, reinvention, and aviation history you never saw coming. Welcome to Historical Digs, where we explore the untold stories of history's greatest machines. The PBY Catalina, originally known as the Consolidated Model 28, was a versatile amphibious aircraft developed in the 1930s. It was used extensively in World War II and played a crucial role in reconnaissance, search and rescue, and patrol missions across multiple nations, including the US, Canada, and beyond. Known by various names, OA-10, Kanzo, and MOP, the Catalina remained in military service until the 1980s. Even today, over 85 years since its first flight, this legendary aircraft is still in action, battling wildfires in parts of the world. The PBY Catalina takes flight. It was the 1930s when global tensions simmered and nations sought greater reach across vast oceans. The US military realized it needed a game-changing aircraft to patrol remote waters, track enemy movements, and endure long flights without refueling. Consolidated Aircraft, an emerging force in aviation, stepped up to the challenge. Their vision was a flying boat unlike any before it, capable of taking off from and landing on water, traveling great distances, and performing multiple roles in both war and peace. This vision soon materialized into the Consolidated Model 28, the PBY Catalina. Before we dig deeper into the PBY Catalina, hit that like button and subscribe to Historical Digs. Your support helps us bring untold stories from history back to life. Unlike conventional aircraft of the era, the Catalina wasn't built for speed or agility. Instead, it focused on endurance, reliability, and adaptability. The engineers at Consolidated crafted a plane that could stay airborne for up to 15 hours, an extraordinary feat for its time. With a range of nearly 2,500 miles, the Catalina could fly across vast oceans, making it a perfect patrol bomber. It featured massive fuel tanks, a sturdy high-wing design for better visibility, and powerful twin radial engines. But what truly set it apart was its amphibious capability. It could operate from land and water, giving it an unprecedented advantage in reconnaissance and rescue missions. Despite its somewhat slow speed, the PBY Catalina was a survivor. It was built to withstand brutal conditions, from the icy North Atlantic waters to the scorching heat of the Pacific Islands. Many pilots described it as nearly indestructible, able to absorb heavy gunfire and still complete its mission. Unlike faster fighter planes, which relied on agility to evade danger, the Catalina relied on durability and endurance. This rugged resilience would prove invaluable as the world plunged into war. By the late 1930s, the PBY Catalina had become the backbone of the US Navy's long-range patrol fleet. It wasn't a fancy aircraft, nor did it inspire fear like a fighter, but those who flew it knew its worth. The conflict or challenge, the tension builds. As World War II raged on, the PBY Catalina was in the action. From the vast Pacific to the treacherous Atlantic, these flying boats became the eyes and ears of the Allied forces. They patrolled enemy waters, hunted submarines, and rescued downed pilots from the open sea. But despite their endurance and versatility, Catalinas had one undeniable weakness: they were slow. With a top speed of just over 170 miles per hour, they were easy targets for enemy fighters who could outrun and outgun them. Japanese Zeros and German Messerschmitts could cut through the sky at nearly twice Catalina's speed, making every mission a deadly gamble. The very feature that made the Catalina valuable, its ability to stay airborne for over 20 hours, also made it a liability. Long hours in enemy territory meant more opportunities to be spotted and attacked. Once engaged in combat, the Catalina had little chance of outrunning or outmaneuvering its foes. Pilots had to rely on quick thinking and teamwork to survive. They would fly low over the ocean, using the waves to obscure their position. Some crews even painted their planes dark blue to blend into the night sky, turning Catalina into a ghostly hunter under the cover of darkness. But even these tactics weren't foolproof. Many missions ended in tragedy, with Catalina's falling victim to relentless enemy fire. Despite these challenges, the Catalina crews adapted. They learned to fly in formations, providing covering fire for one another when under attack. They used their endurance to take unexpected routes, flying far out of enemy range before circling back for surprise strikes. Some pilots turned their slow speed into an advantage, gliding just above the water at near-stall speeds to avoid radar detection. The Catalina repeatedly proved that survival wasn't just about speed. Despite overwhelming odds, this legendary flying boat continued its mission. Combat and rescue missions. As World War II escalated, the PBY Catalina became a silent sentinel over vast oceans, tirelessly searching for enemy fleets and submarines. One of its defining moments came during the Battle of Midway in June 1942. While American aircraft carriers prepared for a historic showdown with the Imperial Japanese Navy, the Catalina crew first spotted the approaching enemy fleet, relaying crucial intelligence that changed the course of the battle. Slow and vulnerable, these flying boats weren't built for firepower. They survived on stealth and endurance. Yet their reconnaissance missions played a crucial role in shaping one of the most decisive naval victories in history. But the Catalina's mission didn't end with combat. It became a lifeline. Nicknamed the Black Cat for its night operations, specially modified Catalinas, painted in matte black, glided silently over the ocean, plucking stranded pilots and sailors from the brink of death. The South Pacific was a dangerous place. Wrecked aircraft, burning ships, and shark-infested waters turned survival into a desperate struggle. Yet time and again, the Catalina crews braved enemy fire and treacherous conditions to pluck survivors from the sea. Some missions lasted over 24 hours, with exhausted crews pushing their aircraft beyond limits, knowing that even a single rescued life made every risk worthwhile. The USS Cooper Incident. PBY Catalina performed many operations, but there was a record-breaking incident 80 years ago. When Japanese torpedoes hit the USS Cooper in the Battle of Leyte, a famed PBY Black Cat was up to the task. The Midnight Encounter. On December 3, 1944, Leyte Gulf was a war zone, with American and Japanese forces locked in constant skirmishes. That night, the USS Cooper, along with USS Allen M. Sumner and USS Mole, set out on patrol, searching for enemy ships in Ormoc Bay. They didn't have to search for long. They spotted two Imperial Japanese Navy destroyers just after midnight. The American ships opened fire with devastating accuracy, setting both enemy vessels ablaze in minutes. But the Japanese weren't finished yet. Waves of enemy aircraft swarmed in, focusing their attacks on the USS Allen M. Sumner. In the chaos, torpedoes streaked through the dark waters, headed straight for the USS Cooper. At exactly 12:13 a.m., disaster struck. A Japanese torpedo slammed into the USS Cooper's starboard side, sending a massive column of water into the air. Within seconds, the ship rolled onto its side and split in two. Less than a minute later, the Cooper was swallowed by the sea. With the threat of another attack looming, the USS Allen M. Sumner and Mole had no choice but to retreat, leaving the survivors adrift in the open sea. For 14 grueling hours, the stranded sailors clung to debris, battling exhaustion and uncertainty, unsure if rescue would ever arrive. The Black Cats arrive. At 2 p.m., salvation came from two PBY Catalina Black Cats from Patrol Bombing Squadron 34. These modified flying boats were painted black for stealth and were famous for their daring night missions. But this rescue was unlike any before. Lieutenant Melvin S. Essery managed to cram 44 survivors into his aircraft, while Lieutenant Joe F. Ball took in 56 more. Overloaded by 3,000 pounds, the Catalinas needed 3 miles of open water just to take off. They returned 2 days later, rescuing 24 more survivors who had made it to shore. Lieutenant Ball was awarded the Navy Cross for bravery, and Lieutenant Essery received the Distinguished Flying Cross. In total, 168 sailors were saved, though 191 were lost. The Battle of Ormoc Bay would claim 6 American ships and 31 Japanese vessels. In a strange twist, the USS Cooper was named after Elmer G. Cooper, a PBY Catalina pilot who died in a crash in 1938. In the end, Catalinas, the same aircraft he once flew, rescued the ship's crew bearing his name. Facing extinction. With the war's end in 1945, the world turned a new page in aviation history. The jet age had arrived. Faster, more advanced aircraft rendered propeller-driven planes like the Catalina obsolete. Once dependent on the slow but resilient flying boat, the US military began to phase it out in favor of newer, high-speed patrol aircraft. For the Catalina, it seemed the fight was over. But the story didn't end there. While the US retired its Catalinas, many other nations refused to abandon the aircraft's unparalleled versatility. Countries across South America, Canada, and Australia continued using the PBY for patrol, search and rescue, and civilian transport. Some were converted into firefighting aircraft, proving their worth in a new battlefield against raging wildfires. Decades later, long after its wartime glory, the Catalina refused to be forgotten, defying extinction by finding new ways to serve. From military icon to civilian lifeline, the PBY Catalina's time had ended. No longer needed for wartime patrols or search and rescue missions, the once legendary flying boat seemed destined for scrapyards and museums. But instead of fading into history, the Catalina found a remarkable second life. Its unique ability to land on both water and land and its impressive range and durability made it invaluable for civilian aviation. The Catalina was reborn from the ashes of war, not as a weapon but as a tool for saving lives and serving new industries. During and after World War II, the PBY Catalina wasn't just a warbird. It also carved out a unique place in commercial aviation. In 1949, Qantas Empire Airways used these rugged flying boats to carry passengers on a 2-day journey from Suva to Sydney, covering 2,060 miles or 3,320 kilometers over the open ocean. But its most famous commercial role came during the war. From June 29, 1943 to July 1945, Qantas operated secret record-breaking flights across the Indian Ocean, connecting Perth, Australia with Colombo, Sri Lanka, a staggering 3,592 nautical miles, or 6,652 kilometers, non-stop. The double sunrise flights lasted up to 32 hours, with passengers witnessing 2 sunrises before landing. Flying at just 130 miles per hour or 200 kilometers per hour and shrouded in radio silence to evade Japanese detection, these missions were anything but ordinary. With only 3 passengers and a small load of military and diplomatic mail, every flight was a test of patience, precision, and endurance. Silent, perilous, and utterly exhausting, these journeys not only pushed the Catalina to its limits, but also cemented its legacy in aviation history. A new purpose: fighting fires from the sky. One of the most surprising transformations of the Catalina was its evolution into an aerial firefighter. Wildfires have long been devastating across North America, Australia, and Europe. Firefighters needed aircraft capable of scooping up large volumes of water and dropping it over burning forests. With its sturdy design and massive fuel tanks converted into water reservoirs, the Catalina became a powerful weapon against nature's fury. Modified Catalinas, often painted in bright red and yellow, took to the skies, dousing flames and protecting communities from disaster. Even decades after its final military mission, the Catalina continued to serve on the front lines. In 1943, the Brazilian Air Force deployed PBY Catalinas to patrol the vast Atlantic waters in search of German submarines. But their role didn't end with the war. These rugged flying boats soon became essential for delivering airmail and transporting supplies to remote regions. By 1948, a dedicated transport squadron, ETA-1, was formed, operating PBY-5As converted for amphibious transport. Stationed in Belém, they flew missions deep into the Amazon, reaching isolated military outposts that helicopters could otherwise access. The Catalina's ability to land on both water and land made it an indispensable lifeline for the region. The ETA-1 insignia was a winged turtle with the motto, "Though slowly, I always get there." Over time, Stuart Davis upgraded several Catalinas to the Super Catalina or Super Cat standard. These modifications swapped out the 1,200 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engines for more powerful 1,700 horsepower Wright Cyclone 14 engines, a larger rudder, and extra cabin windows for improved control and comfort. More than 85 years after its first flight, a handful of PBY Catalinas still take to the skies, proving their durability and timeless design. Whether fighting wildfires, carrying tourists, or gracing air shows, these legendary aircraft continue to serve. Their legacy extends beyond their current roles. The Republic of China Airlines even began operations with 2 Catalina amphibians, showcasing the aircraft's lasting impact on both military and civilian aviation. Many aviation experts consider the Catalina one of the most enduring aircraft ever built, a testament to its ingenuity, adaptability, and historical significance. Reflection and takeaway. The PBY Catalina was never the fastest, most heavily armed, or technologically advanced aircraft of its time, yet it carved a lasting place in aviation history because of one key trait: adaptability. From hunting submarines in World War II to rescuing downed pilots in shark-infested waters, from firefighting to air mail delivery, the Catalina proved that a well-designed aircraft could outlive its original purpose. While many wartime planes became museum pieces, the Catalina reinvented itself, proving its worth in peacetime missions long after its military service ended. As aviation evolves, one question lingers: could flying boats make a comeback? While modern jets dominate the skies, amphibious aircraft are being developed for disaster relief, firefighting, and remote transport. With climate change increasing the need for waterborne emergency response, Catalina's legacy might not be over. Perhaps shortly we'll see a new generation of flying boats soaring again, proving that sometimes the past holds the key to the future. Thank you for joining us in uncovering the flying legacy of the PBY Catalina. If you enjoy this story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating tales of aviation history. And don't forget to check out these other videos for more untold stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.